thought I was done. I was like celebrating the last sun video. I'm like, yes, I've done all 12. No, I haven't. I still have to do the sun in the seventh house. So here we go. All right, so the sun in the seventh house. So this is interesting here because, the sun feels more at place in the opposite house, the first house. Now the sun really wants to be in the fifth house, which it rules. Okay, full expression in the fifth house, but it'll take the first house too, because that's ruled by Mars. So there's still some activity there. There's still some kind of extroverted energy there. So the sun, it'll take the first house. But now we're putting in the seventh house. So if the sun is ego, right? The sun is our ego. It is what we are conscious of expressing out into the world. We now have to look at the fact that it's in the seventh house, which is dealing with partnerships. And in its literal sense, it's any type of partnership. A lot of times we refer to it like it's romance, but the seventh house is partnership, business partnership. Someone who's really good with, collaborating with other people, relating to other people. If their work is going to be important with dealing with others in some significant way, you can see the energy of that in the seventh house. So it's the different energy than the first house. So the first house associated with Aries, seventh house associated with Libra. So it's ruled by Venus. So the ego is a little bit more relaxed now when we put it in the seventh house, because now it's really trying to shine in some type of merging with another person or another, other people in some way. Now I'll say other person because the third house is more, I'll say multiples, right? The third house, siblings, cousins, people you were socialized with is that third house energy. But then we got to perfect that. So when we go to the other air house, the seventh house, now we're learning how to relate. So Gemini energy is this great burst of curiosity, of getting the information, of understanding the importance of facts. When we have the first two signs that are not about the facts, Aries and Taurus energy is about more survival mode, instinct. Aries is more instinct, and Taurus is more surviving and sustaining itself in an earthly way. So then we have Gemini energy where it's like, let's get the information, let's talk, let's learn the importance of being verbal and speaking and writing. And then we have Libra energy, seventh house, Venus energy, where now we're harmonizing them, right? When we have Gemini, is not really the purpose of Gemini energy, not just talking about the person, it's not to harmonize anybody. It's like, let me get this information. And because they are really good, and because there is a free spirited nature, that there tends to be a positive reaction to that. That's why Gemini can be associated, can have friends, but it's a lot of friends, but it's different than the reason why Aquarius does. And I'll talk about that when we get to the Aquarius. I don't want to make this a whole air sign video, but I want us to understand the energy of this, because then when we go to the seventh house, the sun being there, now we're trying to relate to another person. We actually have to sit down. Let me see where we are. Let's talk. Let me see your side. Here's my side. And that's where we get that Libra energy of talking. I'm talking to you because I want to see what you think, and here's what I think. All right. And once we get to the other air sign, we get to Aquarius energy, or the 11th house. Well, now it's groups. Now I'm perfecting communicating among groups. And these might be people that are different from me. These might be people with different ideologies than me. But as Aquarius, right, if you were an Aquarius energy, that would be your job. So your job in the seventh house, if the sun is here, then the ego is slightly moving over. It's seeking togetherness, right? So the ego is taking a little bit of a back seat. Now, if the sun is where you shine, I had to do my notes. And when I do my notes, this is a little tidbit, but when I'm not doing videos, when I'm not doing readings, I study. That is my time to study. Even all these videos, I can do this. I've done videos with no notes, just top of my head, but I do like to organize them. And also, but when I do my videos, I like to challenge myself. Maybe that's the moon and Sag in me, to like write down as much as I know about a placement and then deliver the content. So if I'm looking over, that's why. If the sun is where you shine, then you can do well in areas of partnership and collaboration. So it's almost like you're sacrificing the ego a little bit, because there's this emphasis, this outer expression of, let's do this together. Or, hey, I have this great idea. Like, I know who would be perfect to partner with me on that. I don't think it's necessarily that Libra just takes on anybody. I know that there's a lot of times this kind of understanding or sun, seventh house energy. Let's talk about the Libra energy for a second, because the energy is there. But not to mistake, the sign of the planet of Venus is not necessarily Libra. Get what I'm saying? Venus also rules Taurus. But what I'm trying to say is when the sun is in that house, it takes on a similar type of identity. And that doesn't mean you become a Libra, because if your sun is in Virgo in the 7th house, well, that looks different, right? So, you're sacrificing the ego potentially because you might be known for your association with other people, right? Oh yeah, she's always with her best friend. Oh yeah, the 2 sisters. Oh yeah, that couple that's been together since high school. Oh yeah, so-and-so did this with so-and-so. Oh yeah, so-and-so, and yeah. Oh, the 2 brothers. Oh yeah, this person and that person. It's almost like a merging of your identity a little bit with someone that you relate to. It's what I was trying to say about, I think earlier, this is what I was trying to say. It's not that the 7th house is about anybody. I can partner with anybody goes. Though this place, 7th house energy, shows this potential to value partnership, hey, what do you think? Value collaboration is a strength. And what we have to stop looking at things as is, oh, this sign's better, that sign's better, this sign's better, I'm better. First of all, signs can be better at different things. They are all needed and necessary. And as I've said before in other videos, people who manifest actually use energy of all the signs. I would never put any sign off limits to being valuable when it comes to either communicating with people, meeting new people, having a valuable experience. I think it's ridiculous when people refuse to deal with certain signs. That's a whole nother conversation. It's very ego driven when you do that. And if you're using astrology for ego, you can do whatever you want to do, but my channel's probably not for you because I'm not here to focus on who's better. Now we can definitely talk about who's has a strength in certain areas, right? But it's not a bad thing to collaborate. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because people are going to see them as more favorable. You're more collaborative. They're not going to view the sun and 7th house person as someone who is necessarily combative. Now, again, maybe if they have their Mars there as well or something like that, perhaps. Obviously we have to look at planets around another planet to see how that influences it. But it doesn't have to mean the absence of independence. It doesn't have to mean that you can't be an independent person, but you have to be willing to accept part of who you're going to be known for your associations. You're going to be known for who your ability to relate to other people. Maybe in some way you work within that. Maybe you work in a field where you have to relate to other people. You have to be on a common ground with people in some way. You have to kind of connect with them over, oh yeah, a sun in the 7th house person would be great at any type of field where they have to connect with different type of people. Now, if that person is a sun in Aquarius in the 7th house, or they have Aquarius in their chart, that could be very favorable with you having to, any career where you have to be on a common ground with someone or get someone to purchase something or get someone to buy into you. Sun in the 7th house people are going to buy into you. They're going to feel like, oh, wow, this person really gets me type of energy. Now, again, it's not going to be on an emotional level. It's not like unless you have sun in Cancer, where water sign people who have a lot of air in their chart people feel like you understand them on an emotional level and a mental level sometimes. So the 7th house, your priorities tend to be partnership, even if it isn't a relationship. So in the beginning, I didn't talk about it from a relationship standpoint, but maybe let's talk about that. So 7th house sun person might really value and prefer to be in romantic relationships as well. Now the 7th house is traditionally, it's not just about romance, but it can give us a big indicator because that is a huge part of most people's lives, how they view romance, how they view partnership. And so, it's less of a self-absorbed nature. So I feel like the sun is what you're conscious of. So if your sun is in 7th house, you don't want to be perceived as a selfish partner. You don't want to be perceived as someone who doesn't care about other people. You care a little bit more about how you're viewed when it comes to your associations with other people. And so especially if the person has a really good aspected Venus sign and your sun's in the 7th house, that's usually a positive indicator of being able to, put your partner's needs first, or you value find it really endearing to really be partners in crime. You have people in relationships who are not partners. You have people who are in relationships that don't even like each other, that can't meet a common ground, who maybe are together for convenience. Those things happen. But when you're sent to the seventh house, I think that though you might overindulge on this concept of partnership, and again, we have to look at what the sun sign is, I think there's a lot of potential there to truly understand what partnership is, give and take, where a lot of people don't understand partnership, right? You were thinking of love or lust or whatever the case may be, but partnership is very different. Partnership is we're equally important in this. I'm not coming first. You're not coming. We come first. That is a sun in the seventh house type thing. Now, if a person has multiple planets in the seventh house, even if it's not the sun, you can still sometimes see that concentration of energy of like equally important. We are partners in this. Let's see what you have and what I have, and let's kind of see how we come together in that regard. This is why I am saying we cannot say the seventh house necessarily. How do I say this? Though Libra, if we were going from Aries if we were going in order of the zodiac, right, with the houses and with the signs, yes, Libra would be on the seventh house cusp, right? Because we know if we start from Aries, someone's in Aries rising, they go in direct order: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, so on. But we also have to look at the fact that it's a house, right? So it's not Libra, even though Libra's on the cusp. Like, we have to look at the house and what that means, because Libra can be more indecisive, right? We have this idea because Libra's so great intellectually able to like really narrow down on two things, which not all signs can do, let's be honest. But sometimes that can lead to indecisiveness in Libra. But that doesn't mean that's going to be true for you if your sun is in the seventh house, if you get what I'm saying. That's why we have to be careful. I know it's kind of tricky. It's like, but wait, Libra is not the seventh house. Libra's on the seventh house cusp because we have to strategically put it in order to understand the influence of the sign. But Venus rules the seventh house, okay? Venus and what Venus means, okay? That's why when you're interpreting someone's chart, if someone has Mars or Venus in the seventh house, we don't start talking about Libra. We talk about Mars and Venus's influence on that sign in that house. All right, let me not go too far off on this, okay? If a person accepts their sign in the seventh house, their sun, then it means that they shouldn't view it as inferior. A lot of times, a stronger, more personal energy might be your sun in the first house person, your sun in the eighth house person, maybe sun in the fifth house, where these are houses way more personal in nature. It is personal driven. It's not driven by others like the seventh house. And the way they relate, though, is going to be contingent on the sign. Okay. Which is why I said, we can't say the seventh house is Libra. Again, I'll do another video on this if it seems confusing. Because if you have sun in Virgo, well, in the seventh house, well, now let's talk about what sun in Virgo is going to be like. But then we have to use the aspects of like, what does Venus represent? Because Venus is still going to have the influence on that seventh house. Like, that's the rule. That's the rule. And your sun being there, now we can talk about, okay, well, as the sun in Virgo, this is what Virgo means. But when you put it in the seventh house, what does Venus tend to do to that? I know. See, that's why, let me not get on in depth with that. But yeah, sun in Libra in the seventh house would be the most favorable because Venus can truly act like itself. It's like when you go, okay, it's like, if you have kids or, when you were a kid and you acted fine at school, or you acted fine at grandma's house, you came home and you really showed what you were. That's like sun in Libra in the seventh house. It's very comfortable there. What would be even more comfortable, Venus in Libra in the seventh house, because Venus rules the seventh house. But the sun in Libra is going to be like, oh yeah, this is familiar territory. I'm good. Now, here what could be difficult, slightly, but you would have to use it to your advantage. Sun in Aries in the seventh house. Because Aries is the opposite sign of Libra. Now, both are cardinal signs, right? And what's happening here, though, is the Aries person has this outer need to be impulsive and independent, and take charge in their own pursuit of what they want and what they desire, and really be able to set their sight on something. And that single-mindedness that sometimes people dislike is sometimes the thing that makes Aries successful, is that I want this and I'm going for it. I don't care about these rules. I don't care about these thoughts. I don't care about these feelings. I'm going to go for that because I'm invigorated, right? So that's that Aries energy. You put it in the seventh house. Well, now that energy now has to figure out how to do that within a partnership. Okay. So it's not impossible because it's still cardinal energy in a cardinal house. It's not impossible to merge the energy, but that's why I say the sun, the placement matters. Whereas a Sun in Taurus person, again, Venus rules Taurus as well. So though Taurus prefers to be in the second house, it doesn't mind being in the seventh house. Because, okay, all right, it's like, okay, I'll sit here. Sun in Taurus, the partnership can be resourceful. It can be really beneficial to you. It's not just about the appearance and the feel of being able to relate to one another and kind of enjoy this kind of collaboration camaraderie that you have with people that you feel that you want to invite in your life, and having that be like a very daily reminder of what you're supposed to do. Now, the interesting thing about, there's still an air house. There's still a quality of, like if you had Libra in the seventh house, value partnership, there's still some freedom. Whereas Taurus is a little bit more, I'm going to hold on to what I have, just like Scorpio, but just in a different way. Let me not get into that. Scorpio, Taurus, like in extremes, Scorpio holds on through possession of emotions or a person. Taurus holds on through resources. I'm going to restrict you. I'm going to control the money if you don't do what I say. So I'm not saying that that's a typical quality of those signs, but I always give you guys the good, the bad, and I let you decide what you've experienced, okay? But I always give the information out there so people know the tendencies or the potential. Now, again, a well-adjusted Scorpio or Taurus energy person is not going to do those things. You're going to use their Taurus Scorpio energy for good. But, you know, that's just a possibility. So Sun and Taurus would actually work pretty well in the seventh house, because now we have this understanding of partnership and this kind of freedom, but also we have this understanding of being very stable, right? We were bringing Taurus somewhere where Taurus is like, okay, well, now I'm here to show how to be really, you know, faithful, and how to be really, you know, fixated on my own ability to project what I am and who I am, and show you how in my partnership I'm really here. You don't have to worry about me. You don't have to worry about anything, right? So your Sun and Taurus person has the ability probably to relate well to people while still being who they are, but not really changing all that much, because Taurus is not a sign that's going to be risk taker or to be easily motivated by what someone else says or does. There's kind of like, Taurus might be there to teach you or show you how to do that. All right, this video is actually way longer than I think the other Sun videos, because I went on some tangents, probably confused a few folks, but I just wanted to share that because that's really important, I think, just finishing up this series, okay? So again, if you are not yet subscribed and you like this video, please subscribe, because I guarantee there's going to be a video at some point that you like again, and thank you for watching.